All right, everybody, we're back today and we're gonna be getting into some Telemark fitness stuff. Kate's gonna be here to help us. We're gonna do 3 things that are gonna improve your lunge technique and your exercise routine that's gonna help your Telemark turn on the mountain.
All right, everybody. So we all know we need to do lunges if we want to be strong in the gym, but also on the hill with our telemark turns. So today I'm going to give you 3 things that will improve your lunges in the gym and when you're making your telemark turns. So Josh, could you get into a lunge stance? Kind of a traditional like lunge stance. Do it from the side view so folks can see you. So normally when we're in the gym, go ahead and do your lunge stance. Okay. People will take this kind of long stance as they're doing their lunge. Go ahead and come on back up. So when you do that lunge stance that's really big like that, you're actually making it harder for the muscles that you're going to need when you're making your telemark turn to work when you're in the gym. And that's a big part of what we're doing in the gym, is making sure we strengthen the muscles that we want to have strong for when we go do the sports we love, like telemark. So what I'd like you to do instead, and this is tip number 1, everyone, is to shorten your stance. So when you take a step out, I don't want you to take the biggest step possible. I want you to take a smaller step than you normally would. Perfect. Now bend both knees as you sink down towards the floor. And that's about the most significant stance I would take for someone who's Josh's height, which is I think closing in on 6 feet. That's about the greatest stance I would take. Go ahead and come on back up. I'll demonstrate mine. My stance, so I'm more like 5'7", 5'8", is going to be a much smaller stance where my knee is actually coming right up to the back of my ankle. So it is height dependent as you do this, but you'll know the difference when you do it, because if you're used to taking a bit of a longer step, as you sink down, when you shorten that step up, you're going to get so much more activation in your quads, your glute on your front leg, and your lower portion of your quad on your back leg. So that's number 1, is we want to shorten our stance up. Number 2, what we want to do is get our pelvis in a better position. So could you take that big stance out again, the first one that we did? Cool. Now, when we're in this position, if we look here, get your arm out of the way here. Here's Josh's hips and pelvis. The pelvis in this instance is kind of tipped forward. And we don't want to have that happen, because when our pelvis is tipping forward, not only are we losing core control, which is going to negatively affect our ability to be strong in the gym, but also to control our turn, it's also going to make us more likely to work our hip flexors on the front, less likely to work our glutes, our quads, and our hamstrings. So go ahead and step back up. What I'd like you to do instead is picture your pelvis like a bowl of soup. We don't want to tip the soup out the front. Okay, so we want to keep that soup actually slightly tipped a little bit backwards, not so far that your soup's tipping out the back, but more neutral, if we could use that word, to slightly tip the pelvis back the other direction. So when you go to step out, before you even do that, I want you to just tuck your butt under slightly. Okay, now take a step out and get into that lunge stance. Great, and in this stance, go ahead and move your arm out of the way here. There we go. Now, here's this pelvis, and there's the waistband right there. So it's going more of a neutral stance relative to the floor. So if you stick your butt out and you tip your pelvis too far forward, you're going to feel that your waist is angling down this way instead of having it slightly exactly tucked under. Go ahead and step on back. So that's tip number 2. In addition to shortening your stance, check your pelvis and make sure it's staying just slightly tipped backwards so that it can stay neutral as you sink down into the lunge. Another way to check on that is to make sure you film yourself every now and again. I love to have people do this, because if you film yourself, you'll be able to see, oh, my back is a little bit arched, as opposed to when I tuck it under. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to use an elevated object. In here, we're going to use some books, but I recommend you do a stair step at your house, like a patio step or the first step on your staircase. Or if you're in the gym, get the small little step aerobic risers, and you're going to set that out. So we're going to use a small set of books. It should be about the height of a stair. So in this case, I'm going to put this guy here, and I'll be supporting this so that it can't move when Josh does this. But what you're going to do is take your front foot and put it on the stack of books or on the step. So go ahead and do that. Perfect. Okay, now I want you to go up on your back toe. So your heel is elevated nice and high. Okay, and remember, don't get your stance too big. So scoot towards me a little bit. Perfect. And I want you high on that back toe. Okay, perfect. Now, is our butt slightly tucked under? Okay. Now, I want you to lean forward as if you're bowing. So you're going to hinge at the waist as if you're bowing. Stop right there. That's your stance. Then from there, if you're holding weights in your hands, they'll just be at your sides. If you're not holding weights, that's fine. Then you're going to lower down by bending your back knee and push back up, keeping your weight over this front leg. Exactly. Come on back down. So you're bending that back knee, front leg obviously is gonna bend as well, but you're keeping all the weight loaded over that front leg. So when you stand back up, you don't sink backwards and go back out of the stance, you stay forwards and hinged over. So if you go ahead and do that, down and up, in your set, especially keeping your waist hinged towards whatever's in front of you, you're gonna get a lot of pump here in your quad. It's gonna give you a lot more work for the time that you're spending doing the lunge. Can you feel that? Mm-hmm. Perfect. So those are your 3 tips. Shorten your stance, watch your pelvis, give it a slight tuck, and then get your foot elevated on a surface and lean over your front leg so that you really load that front quad a lot.
Awesome. So we're going to start doing some of these Telemark fitness tips because it's really important that we're keeping our body in shape. These are things that we can practice every day at home, at a gym, and it's going to improve your technique on the mountain. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.